I'm working on loose leash walking with Mushu. Mushinator. I have her on a flat collar because she pulls on the harness. She seems to pull much, much more when she's wearing the harness. She stayed with me for like a week, and in that time I tried to do some shaping to get her to put it on, and used, really high value rewards to get her to like it, be a little less of a statue when she wears it sometimes. And I was clipping the leash onto the front clip of the rough wear harness to kind of change up the picture for her a bit. And it did seem to help, for sure. But she just walks a lot better on the flat collar because that's what we've done the majority of our loose leash work on, is with her on the flat collar. So she just walks real nice on it. I wanted to implement, probably a martingale collar or something once family was confident with, their ability to get her to walk nicely on leash. Oh, very good. There she was a little bit out in front of me, so I used the treat. I had my, the treat in a pocket hand, which is under my thumb and pressed against the palm of my hand. And I'm holding it at the seam of my pants. That's where she has to get the food. Because she has a good target, she'll push her little nose into my hand to get the food. You can also use the hand to kind of move her and position her to sit, or to back up a little bit, or to walk backwards with you. And just holding your hand in position eventually, without the food there, she'll follow just that by itself. It also encourages her to, it teaches you to hold your hand in a very consistent place. It's called holding your hand at home base. And it encourages her to look up and make eye contact in heel position. So if she steps out, if her little feeties get out ahead of the seam of my pants, then she's too far out, and so I'm going to back her up a little bit. Very good. But ideally with the walking equipment, I would have her on a martingale collar, like an inch one, just for the, rare instance where she comes across something that's too tempting and gets over threshold and pulls. So it would keep her safe. But I feel she doesn't really need a lot of equipment. And with clicker training and positive reinforcement training, once you've established a reinforcement history around the behavior that you want, and the dog has practiced it a lot, and it's almost just automatic for them. They really don't need a lot to walk nicely. It's mostly, for me, it's just like a just in case. Some kind of bunny rabbit comes running out that we were not expecting, and then we must chase the bunny, reasonable dog things. And the martingale at least prevents them from being able to back out or, bust out. But up until this point, when she gets out of position, I just prompt her. I do the find the heel position, hand target to get her to come back. And then if she, ends up out in front of me, you take a few steps backwards. You want her to understand that every time she steps forward out of position, that she loses steps. So we're going to walk backwards a little bit if you pull out of position. If she finds herself following her nose and ends up at the very, very end of her leash and is the leash is taut, what I will do is hold consistent pressure and then walk in the opposite direction. I don't want to be yanking her around. I don't want to be, using a lot of force. I just want to keep the pressure consistent and then walk in the opposite direction while prompting her with usually a little sound to encourage her to come back. And when she returns to heel position, I reinforce again with pocket hand. Just hand at home base, reinforce. See, there she backed up with me when I took a couple steps back with nothing more than a little hand target. Really nice. Eventually the dog kind of learns to target like your belly button. They target like your tummy as you walk. But this is, kind of one step before that, basically. This is really great. It's just kind of distance and consistency, and then you're golden. Like getting her to walk a certain distance. I mean, cover a certain distance. Good. But with dogs like her, really frequent walks are good for them because the novelty of being outside is overwhelming often, and we cannot think through it. So the more she gets walked, the better. Several walks a day can be great for dogs like this, as long as you are working on that loose leash heel, the loose leash walking for the majority of it. As long as you're kind of working on that, reinforcing it, and walking really, really frequently, the dog will eventually settle in and relax. Just be easy, much more pleasant to walk. So a second ago, she pulled out of position. Again, we were in the grass, and she went to pull. The leash became taut, and I very quickly turned and went the other direction, prompted her, and then we turned back towards the thing that she was sniffing in heel position and approached it in a nice heel position and released her to go sniff the thing that she wanted to sniff before. We want the walk to be, a positive experience for her. So we're going to reinforce, we want to let her go explore and sniff as much as she wants. We just want to, her to kind of ask nicely and walk with us towards it. Like we approach it together, and then you're free to spend all the time you want sniffing. With dogs like this, along with really frequent walks, like lots of regular walks where you're reinforcing this heel position or, loose leash walking position, they also benefit from long walks where you let them kind of sniff, where you let them explore as much as possible. You don't want to limit their engagement with the environment. You just want to make it kind of conditional. You've got to be nice to get it, right? You've got to look at me. You got to check in with me. The leash cannot be taut. You cannot be yanking me over to it. I want you to explore. This is supposed to be enjoyable for the both of us. So please be nice to me while we are out on this walk.